Good day.
Yes, it is. Well, there's about 10 of them probably gonna open up in just a few minutes.
It's warm in here, yeah. Even I think it's warm, yeah. Go, well, at least come over here to the wood part where you can put your face right on it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting. We'll begin with an invocation by Councilmember Kirkendall and go on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we are so blessed to be here this afternoon. You've given us the opportunity, Lord, to discuss your Clinton. And we ask, Lord, that the decisions and the conversations made here tonight will shine more bright to us as Clintonians. Lord, bless those that are here. Bless this council. May we present you in your way and all the glory. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we come to the time that we have every meeting for citizens to address council. We have some citizens that have signed in. I always like to remind everyone that the city council meetings, we're always happy to hear from our constituents. We have sort of a set way we do it. We ask everyone to come up and please give us your name. You will have 2 minutes to talk. When your 2 minutes are up, Ms. Lewis has a little timer, a little bell that goes off over here. She said, and raise your hand, sign you, so they'll see you. And when that happens, we'll ask you to stop. If you have notes and you want to leave with Ms. Lewis, that'll be fine. We also want to remind everyone this is a time for you to speak on what you are wanting to talk about, but it's not a question and answer session with City Council. So, Ms. Lewis, if you'll call our folks that have signed up to speak.
Mr. William Brown.
Come right on up to the microphone, sir.
May I start?
Yes, sir.
I've come here to bring up a continued issue going on here across different parts of Clinton here. Litter. Litter has been an issue that's going on throughout the world for many years and has continued to be an issue. Over here, there are signs that don't do anything to prevent or divert this problem. And just walking up here, I saw litter at every point, from over past the city gate to here. And there are people, obviously, in the community who take care of this stuff on their own, but there needs to be more done, more addressed with this issue. These signs and everything else have done nothing to stop this.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Vernon Heston,
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council.
Afternoon, Mr. Heston.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Good. I got an issue. On 72, we have a lot of large trucks. That's the truck route. I'm a retired truck driver, so I know about the truck driving business. The speed limit down there is 35. In that area, as we come into the city limits there, those large trucks, tree trucks, sooner or later it's going to be a bad accident there. They also are using their Jake brakes. Jake brakes in most cities that I've lived in and been in is illegal within the city limits of any town or city. I don't know if you all need to get with the DOT here in South Carolina, or the local police here can handle any or all of it, or if they can get in touch with them, but that would be appreciated. 2, on the garbage pickup, trash. I don't know what happened in that area. I live over off Pinehurst. It has become sub-powered. And what I mean by that is it's not up to, it used to be you can guarantee it was going to pick up the garbage by 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, we put our garbage out on Monday nights, and it's supposed to be picked up Tuesday morning. It might get picked up 5 o'clock Tuesday night. It might get picked up Wednesday morning. I don't know what can be done about it, but if anything can, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heston.
Miss Nadine Hill,
Good evening.
I'm here on behalf of the possible going up on our trash pickup. If I'm not mistaken, it hadn't been too long that it went up. I think about 2 years, maybe 3 that it's gone up, but if it goes up again, well, let me put it like this. Since it went to this automated thing, my trash isn't being picked up like it should be. It was better when the men were actually putting the trash can on the thing or whatever, and then if something dropped, that truck can't pick it up, so the truck does not pick it up. The tops of the trash can get torn off. And I'm on a monthly income. It's hard enough trying to get groceries in my house. So I don't need my trash to be going up that you pick up once a week. But now if the truck drops something on the road, it's still there until I go pick it up. So I don't understand why they're going up. If your service is not going to get any better, what's the point of going up? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
that's all, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Next on our agenda is approval of minutes. We have several sets of minutes we need to approve from the May 1st, 2025 special called council meeting, from the May 5th council meeting, from the May 8th special called council meeting, May 14th special called council meeting, and May 15th budget workshop meeting. Are there any additions or corrections that we need to make before we get a motion and approve it?
May the 8th, Mayor, just wanted to make note of the comment, the question that I asked you in reference to you negotiating the contract. I asked, would giving you the approval only to go with the labor attorney to negotiate a contract, and that you would come back before council before an offer was made, and you stated it would be, but that was not the case. So we still, as council, it was not brought back to us before you made the offer. So I would still like to see a contract that was made to the city manager.
The contract's wide open. That was not what we said. We authorized me to make the offer, to negotiate the contract and make the offer. And I think everybody else agreed on that. So,
In this
but
minute-
you can get to You can get to the, you can get a copy of the contract anytime. All you gotta do is ask.
In the minutes, it states, Councilmember William, question, if this gave you authority to allow the mayor and city attorney to do more than negotiate the contract, and to question if the contract would still come back before council before being offered to propose city manager, and you answered and said that it would come back before council.
And we did. We brought it back to council in executive session, and then we did a vote, just like we
Mayor,
said.
you made the offer before you brought it back to council. So please admit that you did that.
That's wrong. So, I'm not gonna admit to anything I didn't do. Okay. Anything else that needs to be addressed? Okay, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of all of these meetings.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments?
My comment still stands.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no.
No.
And motion carries. Okay, now, Mr. Betters and Ms. Lewis, we're going to have a swearing in of our new city manager. And we'd like to ask you and Ms. Nancy, come on up.
I, Bobby Joe Metters,
I, Bobby Joe Metters,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of the state,
to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been appointed,
to exercise the duties of the office for which I have been appointed,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my
to
ability,
the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of this state
the Constitution of this state
and of the United States,
and of the United States.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. This is about our second official time, but we're glad to make this even more official.
Thank you for the
So,
opportunity.
we know you'll do a good job. Okay, next on our agenda is a recognition of Mr. Toriano Trey Coleman for 5 years' service with the City of Clinton Police Department, but I know he can't be here tonight, so we'll recognize him and pass on his certificate to him through the chief. Thank you. Okay, number 8 is the appointment of the municipal court judge for the City of Clinton. We've been asked to table this. I think we've got some more details that need to go over with council that we'll do in the next meeting. So I'd like to entertain a motion to table that and postpone that.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the motion carries. We'll table that and come back to it. Okay. Go ahead. I'll turn it back over to the city manager.
Mayor and council, the next item on the agenda is for the council to appoint a delegate to the LCDC Board of Directors.
Okay.
I'd like to move that we appoint our city manager to that position.
Okay. We have a motion to appoint the city manager, which is what we have traditionally done with the Lawrence County Development Corporation. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Kirkendall. Questions or comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the motion carries. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is to hear a presentation regarding the Revolutionary War kiosk. I think Jim Spry's here to do that.
Welcome, Mr. Spry.
Evening. As most of you know, our nation is celebrating its 250th anniversary next year. Many of those events have started kicking off but most of them will culminate next year in a big event around July 4th of 2026. And South Carolina played a critical role in the Revolutionary War. And I have learned a lot in the last several years living here, just how vital a role Lawrence County played, and even right here in the surrounding area around Clinton. And so the South Carolina 250th Commission and the Lawrence County 250th Commission have done a lot of work preparing these sites here around Clinton. There's Musgrove Mill, there's Hayes Store, there's 4 different sites that were vitally important in that war. And they have prepared a kiosk that they have proposed, and at Main Street we've talked with them and would like to place near the depot. It's a 4-sided kiosk that would highlight these 4 Revolutionary War battle sites and give details for that, and have a QR code for driving directions, because there will be a lot of visitors traveling next year for this celebration, and folks will be coming through. And so it would be a great time, a great way to highlight Clinton's role and to have some of those visitors stopping here and seeing us. So again, the funding has already been appropriated for this. It's available, so I'm not coming asking for that. Just wanted you all to be aware and know that that's been proposed, and we'd like to put that kiosk up again in the depot area. That would be a way to highlight the crucial role that we play.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Spry? We appreciate all the good work that's being done and gonna be done by the commissions that are working on this. So, thank you.
Good idea. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is to consider Safe Streets Grant resolution supporting the goal of 0 traffic-related fatalities by 2040. If you remember at last council meeting, Jamie Kendrick came in, who is working with us from Mead and Hunt on our Safe Streets Grant. And what this resolution will do is authorize him to move forward with applying for a different grant so that we can get some of these projects done. I think they're outlined in your package. And, as much as is going on in town now, we need to move forward with some of these.
Absolutely. Okay, so we need to have a vote to support this resolution.
That's correct.
Right, to go after this grant.
That's correct.
Okay, so the
So
recommendation of staff, so we have a motion from Ms. Walsh. Is there a
Second.
second? Second from Mr. Cook. Questions or comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the motion carries. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is to consider first reading of an ordinance number 2025-006-001 for fiscal year 2025 through 2026 budget for the city of Clinton. And I'm gonna ask Carl to come up if there's any questions or.
He's out here.
We need to attain here.
Okay, first of all, we have been presented a balanced budget by the Finance Department in conjunction with the Finance Committee. So at the recommendation to proceed with first reading, we'll entertain a motion to get it on the floor for discussion.
So moved.
Have a motion from Mr. Cook. Is there a second?
second.
Second from Ms. Walsh. Okay. Questions or comments, or Mr. Carl Stevens, why don't you go ahead and say something about this?
Okay, from the budget that we had at the workshop, I made a few minor changes. They were mainly due to the fact that when I budgeted for property taxes, I looked at what we bring in from Lawrence County on property taxes. What I didn't include in there was the shared revenue that we get from the state, which includes the subdivision and the local government fund. Both of those account for about $240,000 in revenue on the general fund side. So what I did was I added that to the revenue side for the general fund. If you look down, you'll find that in the middle of the first page, the state shared revenue for local government. That kind of gave us a little bit more breathing room on the general fund. What we did do is add I had to add $10,000 of expense to my department in the finance department for the audit that we had to have on for the pensions and insurance for post-retirees. That was something that wasn't included before. And then we added some money for redoing the website, which was something that most council members had kind of suggested that we push forward with doing. So we put money in there, and the rest of that was put over to a contingency just to have, account for other overruns. On the other side, what we did was we reduced the funding from the utility fund to the general fund by about $123,000 to ease up the pressure on the utility fund. We did add a payment for a new line truck that, if we end up putting in the crew of 3 people that we had discussed to handle some of the electric installs for the new developments, we'll have to have a line truck that goes with it. So all that was moved over into the utility fund, and then other than that, the rest of it was put to a contingency at the utility fund. But those are the only changes that I made since the workshop.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I have questions. We are increasing our budget over $1 million from last year. And during our audit, we was told that we spent more money than what we should be spending. And now we are wanting to increase on sanitation in order to sustain the budget. We are wanting to, the city, you're asking for an increase of 5% across the board. When doing research with other cities, we're talking 2.5% to 3%. How do the city of Clinton justify doing a 5% salary increase? And in order to do that, you're going to go up on the citizens' sanitation from $20.63 to $24.75, which it was just last year that we went up on sanitation. The year before that, we went up on utility. Each year, we have gone up on the citizens. I think it's time the city need to readjust their budget and cut budget, because every year we're going up. Every year we're going up on the budget. And I get it that insurance is going to increase, and I'm not saying that no employee is eligible for an increase. They are. But I think, again, I would like to propose a scale on an increase for salary. And I think the city need to readjust the budget and cut budget instead of continuing to go up over $1 million from last year in your budget. Something need to get cut. We are paying too. The citizens are paying. I looked at my homeowner insurance. It have gone up. I looked at my car insurance. It have increased. So it's not just the employees of the city of Clinton. It's the citizens of the city of Clinton that's having to deal with increase. And it's not fair each year that the citizens have to continue to absorb a cost for the city to go up on that budget.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Please, this isn't a cheerleading section.
It's not a cheerleading session.
We're going to ask everybody to please be quiet.
It is not a cheerleader session. It is a true statement. A true statement to the city of Clinton.
Make a statement, Ms. Williams.
I would also like to make a recommendation is that we go on a scale. I agree that employees need a raise. Those that make less than $50,000 do a 4%. Those 50,000 to 75 do a 3%. over 75 or 2%. But how can we justify a 5% increase across the board? I don't see how we can do that.
Well, if you'd like me to address that, the reason why that was put in this year was for the last couple of years, we have been behind the curve. So we haven't met the cost of living adjustments over the last couple of years. So when we continuously lose employees for $1 here and $1 there, we are just trying to right-size our salaries for the employees that we do. We do want to take care of our employees. They're our most valuable resource here in the city. So when we constantly are losing people for pennies on the dollar, because we don't give the increases, we did 2.5% last year. And that was actually tiered. So some people got a 1.5%, some people got 2%, some got 2.5%. The cost of living adjustment last year was just about 3%. So right there, we gave everybody a pay cut. So what we're trying to do is just protect our employees. So I'm willing and open to any suggestion that the council wants to follow. But at this point, this was set to take care, to make sure that we do retain our key employees.
I don't know how well council go through the budget. I go through each line item by line item. Professional service and administration, that's going to increase $25,000.
That was for the website that was asked for.
Fuel increase, and you pull up and you see police vehicles, cars still running. That's fuel waste there. I'm saying in every department, finance, professional service, that's a $15,000 increase. Fuel for the police, you're asking for a $40,000 increase. Fuel for fire, you're asking for a $15,000 increase. Fuel for street, you're asking for a $25,000 increase. Professional service and park and recreation, you're asking for a $50,000 increase. There are so many increases in here, and as I said, over $1 million increase from last year's budget. I don't see a cut. I don't see where the city is cutting anything.
Well, remember when we talked this afternoon, I have to deliver a balanced budget. When you talk about the $1 million increase, that is pretty much on the general fund side. The utility fund side had a 1.5% increase, which is not very much. And that is what I have budgeted is actual revenue that's coming into the city. To deliver a balanced budget, I have to have the same amount of expenses going out. That's how the balanced budget works. So I have to have something in there to spend the money that we plan to bring in. Now, does that mean we have to spend it? No. Does it mean we can shop around and find a better website provider that might be $10,000 instead of $25,000? Absolutely. That's what we do. But this is just a guideline for us to deliver these services to the city.
So if it's
So,
just
let me finish though. All the increases on fuel that you talked about are because we now have a system that tracks the fuel usage by department. That is actual usage from July of last year to now. So that's what I have based our consumption for each department. Before, each department was given an allotment, basically, and it was just a guess. So now that we have a system that I can look at it, this is our actual cost. Gas prices have gone up. I mean, it's just the way it is.
And you explained that to us at the budget workshop.
I did.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion.
One thing, Mr. Mayor, I did
Go
talk
for it.
to our finance director about and to our city manager was in that COLA increase, about the 5%. We may want to go back, not that we've got to do it this year, but I think in the future we need to look at truly what the cost of living and a retention rate is, because it's important we retain our employees based on their experience, their knowledge, and years of service, because what he's referring to about the competitors side of things, competition, we are getting employees stole from us, or, you know, little things are getting dangled in front of them and they're leaving us. So I think in the future, to make us comparable to what other cities are doing, and so it doesn't throw it out of kilter, instead of throwing the full amount in there as a cost of living increase, we may want to go in there and let him rework the formulas in future years. So when we plug the figures in, one goes in as a cost of living that we can match up with truly what the state is saying is the cost of living, and then we can plug in what we want to be our retention rate to help meet the needs to provide the services we provide within the city.
It's a good idea to look for next year. Absolutely. Okay.
The state shared revenue, is that money guaranteed?
Yes,
Okay.
we get it every year, and it's pretty consistent.
And then I had a question about the auger truck. Is this to supplement what we already, how do we handle that now?
The what was that?
The auger truck
Uh-huh.
purchase. What do we do now? Is it to supplement what we have already, or is this?
Well, the piece of equipment that we have that we're looking at replacing is, I think, probably 10, 12 years old. It's not a new piece of equipment, and
It's
it's
2012.
yeah, and it's something, if we had to set telephone poles or things like that, it helps those guys tremendously. Instead of having to have multiple people on a job, we can do it with one or two. So it is a newer piece of equipment, but as we, you know, one of the things that we discussed was putting together a team that would do the electrical installs for all these developments coming in. That we kind of estimate that would take 6 months of the year. What we can generate in revenue would cover their salaries and most likely the payment on the truck. But it really is a no cost to us, but then we'd have their services for the rest of the year to help with normal items around the city.
Right.
But the truck is, I mean, we have maybe one extra truck at this point, and, you know, we're looking at a fleet that you're at least 10 to 12 years old on them. They're getting near the end of their lifespan.
What happens with the old truck? Do we keep that in service as long as we can?
Sometimes we'll keep it in service. If it's not worth anything to us, we'll put it up for auction.
I think you mentioned in the budget workshop that some of the issues that we've heard about tonight with litter and trash pickup,
Mm-hmm.
were we short-staffed for part of the year?
We've been short-staffed for most of the
Still
year.
are.
Mhm.
We're short-staffed right now. We lost an employee in the street and sanitation department recently, and that is the department that's charged with keeping our streets clean and picking up. But the thing we're running into is we make appointments for potential employees to come in and do their interviews, and they aren't showing up. We had 10 appointments in the water and sewer department just in the last 3 weeks. They didn't show up for their appointment. So we're working diligently to keep those departments full so we can provide the services that we need to provide.
Is that part of the rationale for the 5% to bring them up to a level?
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's,
I had an employee come to me this morning, turned his resignation in, going somewhere else for more money. So, and he's a valued employee. So it's becoming a real big problem. It has been for a while. Not just becoming a problem, it has been for a while.
Thank you.
As I was
Okay.
stating, as far as on a scale, of course, employees making less than $50,000, that's mostly your sanitation workers. Give them the bigger increase. Those that's making $75,000 or $100,000, let somebody, why not bring them up? Those ones that's making less than $50,000. Give them the 5%. Those that's making over $75,000, split that up. I mean, and not go up on the citizens again with sanitation. That still can be workable, to bring your employees, your sanitation employees, those that you're struggling to keep, pay them 4% increase. But when we allow employees to hold us hostage, if we say, okay, I'm gonna give you a $5 increase and somebody else offered them $5.25, they're gonna go for the $5.25. But we do want to value our employees, and I do believe that they should get an increase. Those that's making $15 an hour compared to some of our city employees making over $100,000.
Call to question. We have a motion on the table.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. I think we've talked through this and we're beginning to go over the same thing, so I'll call the question to the vote. All in favor of first reading of the ordinance for the fiscal year budget, please raise your right hand. All opposed, please raise your right hand. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay.
The next item on the agenda is first reading of an ordinance to amend the City of Clinton zoning ordinance to develop RS3 zoning district. And I'm gonna call on Phil to come and explain any questions that you may have about that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight you have before you one of three items. The first is a text amendment to the zoning ordinance to consider a new zoning category called RS3. What's provided to you is a draft of a new zoning district. It's basically your R3 zoning district, except it does not allow for multifamily uses. Everything is taken verbatim from the R3 zone. So if you adopt this modification to your ordinance, it would allow for R3 standards, but would not have any multifamily or attached dwellings in the use categories. It would only be single-family residential only as a residential option. There are currently no properties that would be affected by this. It would just provide another option for developers in the future if they wanted to request this category from the Planning Commission and yourselves. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
This has been one of the big questions about R3 is the multifamily housing part of that. We're separating that out so that we have a little more clarity when we're trying to make that rezoning request. Any questions or comments on that for everybody? We haven't made a motion. I guess we should make a motion to adopt first reading of that ordinance to amend and develop the RS3 zoning district. So we'll entertain a motion if that's the will of council.
So moved.
Have a motion from Ms. Walsh. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Smith. Okay, now questions or comments? Okay, if none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, raise your right hand. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next.
Council, the next item on the agenda is to consider first reading of an ordinance for rezoning tax map number 901-09-01-007 and tax map number 901-09-01-019.
Mr. Lindley.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is a request to rezone 41 acres on North Adair Street. The request is to rezone from R1 to R2 on both of those properties. The request went before the Planning Commission at their May meeting, and they are recommending that the R1 be maintained on the front parcel that is closest to North Adair Street. And they are recommending R2 on the remainder of the parcel. That's the most eastern portion of the property that's identified there by the tax map number. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. The developer is also here to answer any questions that you have.
So are we, is the vote for, to take the recommendation of the planning commission,
First reading.
first reading
Yes, sir.
of the recommendation of the planning
Yes, sir.
commission, leaving the first at R1, the front at R1 and the back at R2?
That is correct.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure. We have a recommendation from staff, and we'll entertain a motion to get it on the floor.
Can I ask another question?
Let's get a motion, and then we'll
So
do
moved.
question. All right, have a motion, Ms. Walsh, is there a second?
Second.
Second, we have second, Mr. Cook. All right, now, Mr. Kirkendall.
This may not address anything that you just talked about, but my concern about that property are the access roads that go into that. Can you touch upon that a little bit for me?
Yes, sir. There are 2 points of ingress and egress to this property. One on North Adair Street that's directly accessing that. They have direct attachment or adjacency to that roadway. Then they also have attachment to Mount Moriah Church Road. That's a substandard road, and the intention is to upgrade that road to a standard, so at least 2 cars can travel through there, meet the city standards for that. And in doing so, that would be a part of the development of the site. So with that, we're at this point identifying 2 entrances into that development.
How far up Mount Moriah Church Road? Will you go all the way up to the church?
They have, if you look at the map itself, that roadway goes all the way back to that property, and they want to realign the roadway so it's more straight, and they can have access to that roadway as well as the church to utilize that in the future.
So do the church own any of that property that's there that they're gonna sell? I mean, you're saying it's going all the way up to the church.
Yes, ma'am.
So does the church own any of that property?
Our records show that they don't own anything between the church property and North Adair Street. They may have an easement on there, but I'm not aware of anything like that.
Cause that's,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
you go ahead.
Are they cooperative with the developer to, or I guess they don't even say if it's just an easement?
My understanding is they've worked together to make some improvements to that, so that's more of a matter between the 2 parties. But it seems that this would be a betterment for all of the concern as far as bringing that road up to a higher standard.
'Cause now I thought Mount Moriah Church, you're saying they don't really have much say to it? Because from my understanding, they was against it. So you're saying they don't have any say-so as to, because I know they came to several meetings that the zoning had. I don't know if they spoke out in the meeting, but talking with the pastor of Mount Moriah, they wasn't too thrilled. So that's why I was asking, did they have they have no say-so as to this?
There's been no contact between our office and the church. If there was anyone that was representing the church at our public hearing, they didn't say they were representing the church. So I'm not aware of any concerns between the church and this proposed development. Like I said, the developer's here and be glad to answer any questions you have upon any discussions or meetings that he's had with the church members there at that location.
Okay, and this is just the first reading, right?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Has anyone presented a subdivision plan for that property?
They do have a subdivision plan. However, that's all subject to change. But the request that they're proposing meets the R1 and the R2 layout that's before you tonight.
Am I correct that it's currently zoned, both parcels are zoned R1 currently?
That's correct.
And all we're doing is changing one of the parcels from R1 to R2?
If you take the Planning Commission's recommendation, yes.
Has the traffic situation been addressed in terms of the flow up and down North Adair?
They've had some conversations with DOT about that, but until we, identify all the ins and outs of the preliminary plan, we really won't know if there are any upgrades that are going to be required for North Adair.
Okay. Any other questions or
Mr.
comments?
Mayor, one question I've
Sure.
got. The approval of realigning and upgrading Mount Moriah Church Road, when will that be done, on the front end or once the development is done? When is the road going to actually be upgraded so 2 cars and emergency vehicles can get in there with no problem?
That will be made at the time of preliminary approval when they are doing construction of that phase of the development.
And who will do that approval?
Well, first ask it for the Planning Commission. That was one initial request as part of this. The Planning Commission did not take any action on that, so that item is going back to the Planning Commission at a later date for them to make their decision on the realignment issue. But as you see from the proposed plan that they have for you, it shows the realignment of that roadway.
So I guess my question is, why are we voting on the recommendation if they're still pending on something from the Planning Commission?
That's a part of the overall development plan. So right now, you're just establishing the zoning for the site, whether it meets those standards for lot sizes and those types of things. So once that step is approved, then they're able to go ahead and move forward with construction drawings, engineering, and that kind of thing.
So will that be done before we do our second reading?
It may, but I can't guarantee that that would be the case.
So I'm a little confused in here. We're being asked to approve a recommendation from Planning Commission, and that work has yet to be completed by the Planning Commission, other than they've agreed to the rezoning from R1 to R2
Yeah.
for one parcel.
The recommendation tonight is only to rezone the parcel from R1 to R2. That's the only thing on tonight's agenda.
All right, that's all, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm equally concerned because we have approved such before. Again, going back to that Sloan Street, they was not supposed to do anything until that road on Forest Drive was completed. It's not completed, so we give approval on this, and then Mount Moriah Road does not, it still be incomplete. I think we shouldn't be, this shouldn't have came before council at this time.
Any other questions or comments?
I did have one more. It
Sure.
says the staff recommendation is to approve the property to an R2. So is the staff recommendation different from the planning commission's recommendation?
We were okay with rezoning the entire parcel to R2, both parcels to R2, but the Planning Commission felt it was best to leave the portion at the front to R1, which meets their standards or meets the design that they're proposing for you.
Okay, so what we're doing is part of it R1, part of it R2. That's what we're voting on first reading of. Am I
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor, so all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, no. Raise your right hand. Okay. And the motion carries. Thank you. First reading. Okay.
Next item on the agenda is first reading of an ordinance for annexation of tax map number 614-00-00-001, 636-00-00-013, and 614-00-00-051. This is known as the Dutton property out on Highway 56, and there's a development that wishes to be done there and built.
Okay, so go ahead.
Thank you once again. This is a request to annex and to establish a zoning district for nearly 29 acres on Highway 56 North, just beside the City of Clinton Recreational Complex property. This item did go before the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission looked at the request and is recommending approval of annexation as well as designation of all three properties to the R2 designation.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a recommendation from staff. We have a motion at the will of council.
So moved.
Have a motion from Ms. Walsh. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Smith. Questions or comments?
So these are going to be houses?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many houses?
It could vary, but on the site plan, it identifies, well, I can't read it, but the last page there on your packet is the proposed layout that they're looking at doing right now. There are some, could be some modifications to that. They're not attached to that, but this is what they're kind of proposing as far as concept.
Some more cluster homes?
They are requesting a cluster provision for this, but that would be the proposed layout that they're looking at doing.
But you don't know how many?
Not right now, no ma'am.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Has this been in front of the planning commission?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's what they recommended.
And again, we're just voting on the zoning tonight.
That's correct.
And annexing.
And annexation.
Annexing and zoning. First reading. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, raise your right hand. And motion carries. Thank you.
That's all I have tonight.
Okay, now we need to have an executive session to discuss a personnel matter regarding the interim city manager. We'll return to open session at the call of the chair. And I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Have a motion from Mr. Smith, second from Mr. Kirkendall. Questions or comments? Not all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And we will go into executive session and return at the call of the chair. Thank you.